Guys, the
Insert content creator.
situation is crazy, man. I feel like for weeks now, every single commentary YouTuber has had the same title over and over and over again. It is getting so old, but also every week there's a new situation that we have to talk about. And why are so many of them involving minors? Why? And why does everyone and their mother have to talk about it? Like, why do I care what every single person with a microphone has to say about it? That being said, let's talk about it. Recently, Ava Kris Tyson has stepped down from all things MrBeast, the YouTube channel ran by Jimmy Donaldson. They have been childhood best friends, and she was there from the beginning of the channel, taking part in pranks and various other things in the videos. She said this on Twitter: "I would like to apologize for any of my past behavior or comments if it hurt or offended anyone. It was not my intent. Seeing recent events, we've mutually decided it's best I permanently step away from all things MrBeast and social media to focus on my family and mental health." Now, to me, this is a response for when you've been a little publicly unprofessional in the workplace and you decide to step down for personal reasons. Not for when you get caught with the kind of stuff Ava Tyson has been caught with. This story was broken by a YouTuber by the name of Prison42 about a month ago. He sat down in a park and talked for about an hour, where he had printed out a bunch of screenshots and DMs, stuff like that. Seems like we're starting to see somewhat of a trend of smaller YouTubers trying to pop off by doing investigative journalism, by digging into people's pasts and finding dirt on them and exposing them. And I think that there's a conversation to be had about the wisdom of that, how smart that is. For one, if you're not holding yourself to a high standard of journalistic integrity, you're opening yourself up for lawsuits and whatnot. And second, it could also lead to disaster. We saw with Sketch recently his leak, where it was really a nothing burger. I mean, it's not something we need to know as the public. It's not. And that caused him to almost take his life if he didn't have good friends around him. And so, there's consequences to these kinds of things. I'm not saying nobody should ever do stuff like this, but if it starts becoming a trend where smaller people are more and more trying to dig into people's past to make an expose on them, all for clout and engagement, that feels a little icky to me. So I would just encourage anyone who is considering doing stuff like this to really consider the ethics of what you're doing and hold yourself to a high standard of journalistic integrity for your safety and protection, and for whoever you're trying to expose as well, or any other person that may be collateral in this situation. So there's several things going on here with Ava Kris Tyson. And I'll also say last year, 2023, she came out as a transgender woman. That has been a big controversy. We're very pro-trans on this channel, unironically. Part of that, though, is treating transgender people the same way I would treat any other individual, and in holding them accountable for shit like this. And while there are certain people out there who would like to smear transgender, LGBTQ people, any kind of group of people as being more inherently inclined towards this sort of degeneracy, I think that's dumb. But I also think that more progressive people should not use that as a excuse to dismiss when there is degeneracy in an individual like this. That's that. So what did she actually do? So there's several things here, some worse than others, some not as bad in my mind, some I don't really care about. And honestly, I think that the worst things are kind of being overshadowed by some things that don't really matter as much. So the first thing is how much that Ava interacted with and supported an artist known as Shadman, who was popular 5-6 years ago or so. Now, this artist, aside from doing a lot of normal digital art, was also known for doing what is known as LOLLI Con, and that is drawn depictions of individuals who are minors, and often depictions of very, very young individuals. Now, there's been discussions on this type of material in the past. The ethics of it, the morality of it, the legality of it is kind of iffy. For me, it's always going to be a red flag. I don't want anything to do with it. I don't really want anything to do with anyone who has anything to do with it. It's not good in my opinion. Oftentimes they will try to get around it by saying that, you know, the character in question is actually like 1,000 years old and it's just kind of how their body is presented, or you know, something like that. Still sus. It's very, very sussy in my opinion, okay? But what makes Shadman doubly, quadruply degenerate and bad is his depictions of real world IRL minors. One, namely, being Keemstar's daughter, which is just absolutely disgusting. Now, since all this came out, people have been digging through a lot of other creators' pasts and seeing if they interacted with Shadman, this artist, which I think is kind of we're kind of losing sight of the point here. I don't know how productive this is. A lot of what I'm seeing is like minor interactions on Twitter, and this guy used to be fairly popular. Minor interactions on Twitter, or commissioning like totally normal digital art. I don't think that anyone ever that interacted with Shadman was or is a bad person necessarily. Just depends. But the way that Ava interacted with Shadman, I think, was bad. Clearly so. I'm going to link Mudahar's video on this below, where you can find all the receipts. I'm just kind of sharing my thoughts about it here. He's done what I think is probably the most responsible coverage of this. But Ava's interaction with Shadman showed that she was clearly aware of the more degenerate kind of content that he produced. Other areas online, she has shown that she is very into this kind of content, saying things like, "Nothing gets my knob cranking like some," not good. There's also other instances where she outright asked for or insinuated that she would like art of certain cartoon children or real life children. She also bought art from him, and it is seen displayed in a very old MrBeast video. You know, not good stuff. Very sussy stuff. But we've seen in the past that this kind of stuff hasn't really been a nuke for people. Vosh, in particular, not too long ago was exposed for having this type of content on his computer, and kind of made some excuses for it. And then people went back and saw his very long history of kind of giving weird defenses for child material, as well as the LOLI material. It was a big drama. A lot of people talked about it, but he just kind of kept plugging along. He hasn't really lost much support over it. I think a lot of his fans were already primed and conditioned in this area, so it bothers a lot of people. Doesn't bother others. I don't know. It bothers me a lot. Given the fact, though, that the MrBeast channel is supposed to be family friendly, if it was just this, I still don't think it would fly. I still think she would have to part ways with MrBeast. So the next thing is, it was heavily insinuated and implied, or just outright said, that Ava had an inappropriate relationship, interactions with a minor, with a 14-year-old. And this is shown to not really be the full truth. The alleged victim came out on Twitter and said, quote, "These videos are massive lies and twisting the truth. Ava never did anything wrong and just made a few edgy jokes. I was never exploited or taken advantage of. Can you do me a favor and comment on these videos and tell them to stop spreading lies? This situation takes away from children who are actively being exploited every day online. I am not a victim of anything being claimed in these videos or at all." And this is kind of what I'm talking about with the collateral that happens with exposés like this. I am sure that this guy did not want to be brought into the limelight like he has recently and be made out to be a victim of grooming when clearly that is not what happened. However, going through like all the messages that were sent and things that were said, I think that there's definitely important conversation to be had there about the kinds of communities that content creators foster and making sure that you have a high level of ethics and behavior within those communities, and making sure that younger people are protected, and making sure that these SG jokes are not being made in mixed company. This thing here is probably what I care the least about. It is still eyebrow raising. It is still sus. But everything that was done here was done publicly in a group, in group messages, in discords. There was not a one-on-one intimate relationship being fostered. This next part here is utterly disgusting, utterly indefensible, and it is a video that was uncovered from 10 years ago showing Kris Tyson sharing revenge material, you know what I'm talking about, of Jennette McCurdy. And this would have been when they were probably around 18. But even if Kris was like 16, 15 at the time, there's just everybody knows this is wrong. So this is from Mudahar's video. I'm gonna play this clip here. Listen to what they said in this video 10 years ago as they were sharing this link.
Going, you guys. So recently everybody's been hearing about the Jennette McCurdy leak of her photos, and I know a lot of people were wondering about it, so I decided to do this little video to my 20 subscribers that may care, may not care, and if you guys are watching, thank you for watching it. But first off, what the story is, she sent pictures to her boyfriend, her now ex-boyfriend, and he leaked them out, and she is a very popular Nickelodeon star on the show iCarly and Sam and Cat. And so first off, what you'll probably be seeing is the pulling of the show. It'll probably be taken off the air. Second off, you'll probably see the photos get taken down at some point tonight, maybe tomorrow, because Nickelodeon has that kind of power. But the link's in the description if you want to see them. I mean, I'm not endorsing people to go look at somebody else's private business, but I know that people might want to see them, so it's there if you want it. First off, what I have to say though is that when you look on the news, you see people, they've leaked nudes from their girlfriend at a high school, and that girl kills herself. It's a tragic story. Everybody calls the guy a bully, but yet when people like Perez Hilton do it, it's considered entertainment.
Saying that you don't condone looking at this material, but actively sharing it, and then saying that you realize that people have taken their lives over stuff like this and still sharing it is just utterly disgusting. It makes me sick. It's disgusting, right? Like, you don't have to virtue signal about this kind of shit. That's gross. So I mean, what can you say? She stepped down, which I think is good. I don't think she needs to be in the public eye. I don't think she needs to have access to a fan base, anything like that. A lot of this stuff was in the past, but she was still interacting with Shadman as early as like 5 years ago. So how much has she changed since then? I don't know. I think that the clear lesson here is don't fucking talk to minors. It's just not that hard. It's actually so easy. And I think it's a good lesson for up and coming creators to learn that, it's, one day you're sitting in your room making videos. You start getting 10, 20, 30,000, 100,000, 500,000, a million followers. All of a sudden you're interacting with all these people. You have this huge fan base. You have these communities apart from YouTube, like in Discord, group chats, stuff that you're involved with. I think it's important from the very beginning to lay out a strong foundation of how you want to interact with fans, how you should be ethical in your interactions, and in your relationship with your community. If you start getting big enough to where you are bringing on employees or other personalities, you need to vet them properly. You need to make sure that you have systems in place for accountability for how these people are interacting with your community. I don't care what kind of content that you make. I think we can all agree that it would be great if we start to make being ethical as a creator hot trend, Let's put ethics back on the menu, boys. One last thing, looking at the reactions to this, there's pedophilia involved. So, you know, there's going to be some people like Sneeko being weird. And then there's pedophilia and LGBTQ involved. So, you know, there's going to be some leftists like Hassan and Ethan is online being weird.
The number one hypocrisy that I'm seeing is all the mainstream bot Twitch streamers, these female Twitch streamers who dominate the Twitch platform. They were so quick to talk about Dr. Disrespect. When Dr. Disrespect, he didn't even get anything leaked. There's no receipts. Apparently he messaged a 17-year-old and immediately jumped to Twitter to call him the worst person ever. And when I saw that, I'm like, okay, straight white man who's talking about conservative values, they don't like him. That has nothing to do with the 17-year-old. They just don't like him and they want a reason to cancel him.
Yeah, so Sneeko, I guess, who is has a hard time defining the age of consent. I guess he is mad that people aren't as much of a equal opportunity pedo defender as he is. He was very quick to defend Dr. Disrespect, and seems like he's kind of defending Kris Tyson here too. By the way, Pokimane, Valkyrie, pretty much all those streamers have said something about the Kris Tyson situation at this point. He was very much calling out Charlie, Penguin Zero, Moist Critical. No, he's just trying to get some level of relevance that he just doesn't have anymore. It's the only time that he ever gets shown in the news or anything like that. And then, of course, you know, Charlie made a video responding to the situation and to him. He had a pretty disgusting response to the sketch situation, and I think he is just mad that he doesn't have as many people that care about him as an entertainer or as a person as Sketch does. He is pretty much a lolcow at this point. Even his own audience thinks so. And whenever anything embarrassing comes out about him, people just laugh at him. He's a loser and he has no foundational beliefs. Another person I believe has very little foundational beliefs is Ethan is online. Now, Hassan, for whatever reason, said that there's just too much going on politically right now to respond to it. Even though he streams for 12 hours a day, he couldn't find a moment to watch like a 10, 12 minute synopsis of it and give some thoughts. Is what it is. Ethan is online, has gone to the Hassan school of deflecting and denying anything bad that he doesn't want to talk about, but he's just not as good at it at all. And typically what Hassan will do, if he has to address something, he will find one little thing that he can hone in on, a bit of info that's wrong or something inherent about the person or about their beliefs or their ideology. Recently, there was a article from a independent, apolitical fact checker type organization that said that Hassan spreads just as much misinformation as the right does. And he immediately went to the person's Twitter and utterly dismissed everything and said that this was a centrist piece of trash. It plays well with the audience, and that's why you will never see him debate someone, at least not someone, you know, on a similar level or that's actually good at debate. He'll debate streamers or YouTubers like Willie Mac Show. Not that he is not a smart guy, but he is not like a seasoned debater. And he quickly tried to move the topic towards politics and foreign policy, which, you know, no one should expect Willie Mac Show to be an expert or learned on that. He was just confronting him about his misinformation that he spread. And he did not address that at all. He found little things to sidetrack the conversation and hone in on that. Ethan is online, tries to do that, but he just doesn't have the confidence for it.
First 2018, the fact that Vilo was 4 released.
God, I hate how this is formatted like a commentary video and it feels like it was edited by AI.
You still think this is a coincidence? The next season will definitely change your mind. On January 25th, 2019,
It also sounds like it was written by AI.
Chanman posted a picture of a character called Raptor.
So immediately he's honing in on that he doesn't like how the video is made. Yeah, it was not the best made video, but there's a lot of smaller creators trying to make videos right now on it. Is what it is.
Oh yeah, from the rising of the
So the synopsis is Ava used to like, stop skipping, no, because the synopsis of the video is Ava used to like Shadman in.
Yeah, so again, he just like kind of clicked through the video, and this is what Hassan will do. He'll pull up like an article, he'll read the headline, maybe a sentence or two, and then he'll move on. Just enough, or like if he's presented with something that is bad, then he will look through it just enough to try to find something that he can use to dismiss it. And if he can't, then he'll just move on. So again, immediately, he's just utterly dismissive of it.
In 2017. I don't need to look at a bunch of his Nazi
Peter file.
Pedo file.
Peter file.
art to go figure that out. That's gross. Fuck dog shit video. So bad. Such an awful, terribly
Like, he did not watch any of it.
formatted video. Literally the worst fucking YouTube video I've seen in a long time. Literally just to be like, MrBeast's friend 7 years ago had some inappropriate tweets that were a really bad look. You're avoiding the video? That's the whole point. What am I avoiding? What am I avoiding? Didn't like most
The video. And this is what Hassan did. Like, Woody Back Show came on and Hassan was like, he was like, did you watch my video at all? And he's like, no, of course I wouldn't. Why would I do that? It's like, well, if you're going to talk about it, if you're going to have me on the show, you should have watched it at least.
Also, the internet at the time fuck with Shadman? Yes. For some reason, yes. He was very popular. Gross. It says liked images with underage characters. Bro, you are talking about a Nazi
Sounds like pedophile.
artist that was like massively popular on YouTube at the time. I'm sorry. It was 7 years ago.
It was 5 years ago.
Showing it to me is gross. I don't want to see it.
You don't have to see it to see what happened.
It's irrelevant. That doesn't make it okay. It's not relevant though. Is that a gross thing to do? Is it unacceptable? Yeah. But like the anti-cancel culture warriors all of a sudden are like, wait, liking tweets from 7 years ago. Liking tweets from 7 years ago though. Why are we even talking about MrBeast's friend? Because she's MrBeast's friend. Since this time, Kris transitioned and is now Ava. To give you an idea of how long ago this was a completely different time. I was in high school when this happened. I had no idea who MrBeast was, and neither did MrBeast. He wasn't even around.
So again, like we've seen videos in the past where he is quick to call conservatives P3DOs. He is quick to bring up stuff that happened way in people's past, as long as they're conservative. He has been quick to defend P3DOs for some godforsaken reason. I don't know why. Very strange.
What are you saying? Yeah, your username, by the way, is I Get Blacked. You're also weird as for that. Only weird that videos like this only came up after she came out as trans? Yeah. Quite literally reinvented herself since then in multiple different ways. I don't know if you've noticed. Are you trying to cancel MrBeast too? Because he had that in his living room? It was in MrBeast's living room. Should he be canceled too? You can't ever defend MrBeast ever again. Don't ever defend him or watch him. It shows up.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's super dumb. I don't think that he has any underlying principles. I think that he likes to be a part of a club, a group, and anybody that is also in that club or group should be defended. Anyone that's outside of that should be attacked, and we don't treat people as individuals or hold them responsible as individuals. It's just kind of vibes based, you know. Pretty gross, in my opinion. Should be pretty easy to just totally denounce this and say this is bad. And I'm not one for cancel culture. It's like nobody gets canceled anymore. It doesn't matter, you know, unless it's a absolute nuke. But stuff like this, when it's brought up, it needs to be addressed. We need to hear a response on it. Like, we need to hear from the person about what happened, where they're at now, and we also need to be bringing these things to light and having these conversations about ethics and how our communities are formed and the way that we interact within them. They're important conversations to have. And just because there are some people coming to the conversation in bad faith doesn't mean that we shouldn't be having these conversations. It's super easy. It's a total layup. That's all I got. And you know, it's another situation, and we'll probably have another situation next week. It's getting really hard to care about all these situations, everything else going on in the world, but I do think it's important to stop and talk about these things and learn from them. It's kind of hard to talk about it as a commentator because I feel like everyone is kind of saying the same thing, but you know, the more people we get talking about how it's not cool to talk to minors, especially in an inappropriate way, the better. I think that's, maybe we can make 2024 the year of actually protecting minors.